Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Global Studies class. It is Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. Hope you are having a great week so far. It is Hump Day! And we have a very easy agenda. Let's take a look at it. Today, as always, we are going to start with a last class review. We'll discuss statistics and sources again, and more importantly, maybe, attendance and assignments for this class. After that, we'll talk about using statistics in rebuttals. I'll give you today's assignment and your attendance question, and we'll be on our way. So first and foremost, last class, we talked about statistics and sources, and you guys are getting the hang of it a little bit. We now know that you can't just make up statistics. I mean, you can, but if you're making them up in an argument and somebody calls you on it, you are going to look foolish. Very, very foolish. Don't be a fool. Sources, same way. If you say studies show, or if you say some people believe, you got to have something to back that up. For the most part, you guys got the hang of this with the work you did. I enjoyed what I saw from the people who submitted work. You guys did a great job. We will get better at explaining it, make sure that we're using it in the right way. Statistics can be hard. You might think you have a great statistic. I've seen it before where someone thinks they've got a great statistic and it actually works against them. It's not what they thought it meant. So we have to be very careful with the statistics that we use. However, although work was good, it kind of leads me into attendance and assignments. I have noticed over the past few weeks that a few of us are sending in attendance answers to the emails, but not doing the work for that day. And I just wanted to remind you guys that you have to do both. You have to do the attendance and you have to do the assignment, okay? The attendance lets me know that you were here, that you watched the video, you get your participation points. The assignment lets me check to make sure you are understanding what we went over, and I get to give you a grade on that. If you don't get me the assignment on the day that it's due, then it's a late assignment, and the best grade that you can get is a 70%. So some of you have been sending in late work, and that's great, all right? Always send in late work. Never get a 0. Late work is always better than a 0. A 50% is better than a 0. Heck, a 30% is way better than a 0 in the gradebook. But for the assignments, if you can get them in on time, they're not too hard. Your grade will probably be better than a 70, and you will get a very good grade in this class. If you're not doing the assignments and only the attendance questions, when report cards come out this next 6 weeks, you're going to see that your grade that used to be up here is now way down here. So let's make sure that we're answering both the attendance questions and doing the assignments for the class. Sometimes they're both the same thing. Sometimes they're different. It's up to you to watch the video, find out, and do both of them if you need to. All right? Now, let's kind of go back into statistics and talk about statistics in rebuttals. That's our lesson today. What do we got? Well, Mr. Weckbach, I'm glad you asked. What we got here is an argument. This is an example of an argument with a statistic in it. Now, let me say this is very false. I just completely made up this statistic for the purposes of this lesson today. But let's say that this argument was given to you and you had to rebut this argument. They used a statistic. They said 70% of teachers don't think school should start later. Few things that we need to know about this right here. First of all, 70%. What kind of number is that? 70% could be 7 out of 10 teachers, or it could be 700 teachers out of 1,000. We don't know. We need to find out that information if we can. It could definitely change our thoughts on it. But for today's assignment, let's just go ahead and focus and assume that this is a correct statistic. About 70% of teachers don't think school should start later. You might see this in an argument that's sent your way in an email. They used a statistic. Great job. It's an example of why school should not start later. Who knows more about school than teachers? Who knows more about students than teachers? And if teachers think that school should start at the same time and not start later, it's a solid argument or a solid example to use to support your argument. That does not, however, mean that in a rebuttal, you can't also use a statistic. All right? There are plenty of statistics that you can use in a rebuttal to an argument, even if that argument has statistics. You can use statistics as well. So let's say we hopped on our computer, we did a little research, and we typed in something like statistics about high school students starting school later. I'm sure you could find a bunch. Let's just say we happened upon a study, not of teachers, but of students. And we found out that for every 10 kids asked, 9 of them wanted school to start later. That's a statistic right there. And you could rebuttal this argument or rebut this argument by saying, well, while my opponent does say that 70% of teachers want school to stay the same and not start later, 90% of students want high school, or want school, we can just say, want school to start later. Now, after this point, you would have to tie it back into their argument. As always, we're attacking what they say. So maybe you add another sentence that says, who knows students better than teachers? Students know students better. And we could add that as a sentence. 90% of students want school to start later. And students know themselves better than teachers. And right here, we have a great example of being able to use a statistic in a rebuttal to an argument with a statistic in it. Just because somebody uses a statistic, it doesn't mean that they are right. A statistic only helps your argument. The more statistics you have, probably the stronger argument you have, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are 100% correct. You can find arguments where there are thousands of statistics to support your side, and you still may not be right. You could still lose a debate. You might still have a weaker argument than somebody on the other side. But for today, what I want you to focus on is using a statistic in a rebuttal to an argument with a statistic. Now let's go ahead and see what we have for today's assignment. For today's assignment, what you are going to need to do, if you haven't figured it out yet, is you are going to create a rebuttal with a statistic. So I am going to send you another student's argument from our last statistic class where we all created arguments using a statistic. You are going to create a rebuttal to that argument. This is something that we've been working on, so this part should be easy. Create a rebuttal to, let's say, the argument I send you. But there's going to obviously be a catch. You are going to need to come up with a statistic of your own that goes against what that person is saying. So create a rebuttal to the argument I send you using an accurate statistic. That is your assignment today. And to make sure that we don't have that issue of just the attendance question being answered, we're going to double that up as your attendance. So for today, all you have to do is take the argument that I sent you, create a rebuttal to it, and make sure you use a statistic that is true, that is factual, that you looked up online or using a reference of some other sort, maybe a book, maybe a newspaper article, and you are going to use a statistic to rebut that person's argument. So remember, everything we've learned is still in play. Make sure for the rebuttal, we're attacking exactly what they say. and find a statistic that helps attack what the other person said. All right? If you have any questions, as always, I'm here. I'll be able to help you out. Send me an email. For the most part, you guys are doing great. Don't have a lot of questions. If you do, though, just know I'm here, and I'm here to help you out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Can't wait to see what you put in your assignments for these rebuttals, and we'll see you on Friday. Take care.